C.V. Harquail. She's an author, consultant, and a toolmaker. Her new book, Feminism, A Key Idea in Business and Society, is the first to analyze business from a feminist perspective and to propose a feminist business practice. She's the co-founder of feministatwork.com, a feminist business practice consultancy, and co-founder and producer of feministforum.com, which is a conference for feminist entrepreneurs. Please welcome C.V. Harquail to the stage, everyone.
So I'm really glad Marisha got the word feminist in my introduction so that you won't be shocked by what I'm going to talk about. But I love being here in the SheEO community because I know I can always count on us having a certain set of shared beliefs. And chief among these beliefs is that we believe that if we can get more women into business, more women founding businesses, more women leading businesses, more women funding businesses, that we're going to be able to change the world. And I love being part of a community that's dedicated to doing just that. Right now, we know we have an economy that really doesn't work well for us. It's extractive. It takes more than it ever gives back. It's abusive. Working in this economy hurts us and harms us. It's also a corporatocracy where financiers and people at the top of the largest corporations get to set the agenda for the rest of us. They get to set the criteria about what gets done and what's thought to be successful, all so that they can serve themselves, the 1%. So this thing we call the economy, it centers around marketplaces, it focuses and values efficiency, and it really is there to support the activities of buying and selling stuff, all so that we can generate profits for owners and investors. That's what our economy is set up to do. And guess what? We know it's not working for all of us, and it's especially not working for women and other marginalized people. So I propose that we shift to, surprise, a feminist economy, right? What's a feminist economy, you might ask? Let me tell you what it's not. It's not an economy that celebrates feminine qualities, and it's not an economy that rejects or disposes of masculine qualities. The idea of feminine and masculine qualities is a social construction, it's a fiction. We don't need to genderize our economy because the values we need in our economy aren't masculine or feminine, they're feminist. So what do I mean when I say feminist? Well, feminism is a worldview and a political movement for all of us to end oppression and sexism, to establish equality and justice, and also to create a world where everyone flourishes. That's the ultimate goal. So if we take feminism, the values of feminism, the goal of feminism, and we put it into the economy, look what we're going to try to do. We're going to challenge and change systems of power that create oppression and support domination. We're going to get rid of that by creating systems instead that support equality and justice, that support participation by all of us and agency from all of us, that support care and relationships, and that ultimately provide what we all need to flourish. And this word provide is very important to feminist economics because we're focusing on providing for everyone in an economy that's decolonized, where no oppression exists, in an economy that's democratic, an economy that's regenerative, and that serves all of us. That is where we're going. So to get there, we have to prioritize caring. We have to support and focus on relationships. And ultimately, we have to understand that our goal is providing for each other. It's not making money. It's getting to each other the resources that we all need so that we can all flourish. And that's a fundamentally different goal, a fundamentally different intent than what's going on in our economy right now. So I propose, because I'm all about feminism at work, that we move to this economy by creating feminist businesses. So often when I mention feminist businesses, there are a couple of blank stares because people are like, what's a feminist business? Let me tell you what it's not. It's not a business that's been founded by a woman. It's not a business that supports and serves women customers with women-oriented products. And it's not a business that has lots of women in the organization and then runs itself just like the same old organization, down the way or across the incubator. A feminist business isn't a conventional business staffed with women. We need those businesses. We absolutely depend on having those women in those businesses, but that's not enough. It's not enough to change the world and the systems of power and lead us to a new feminist economy. Instead, what we need are feminist businesses, businesses that are organized around the principles of feminism and that are intended to challenge and change systems of power. As Joy was saying before, it's all about the systems of power, because we know that gender, as well as racism, as well as ableism, as well as heterosexism, they're all systems designed to sustain the power by the few at the top at the expense of all of us. So a feminist business is going to promote feminist values, and it's also going to make some money. It's going to be a sustainable, legit business, but it's also going to promote justice. It's going to operate regeneratively. It's going to create collective value, and like a feminist economy, it's going to provide for flourishing for all of us. So for whom do feminist businesses provide? Sorry, that was a very academic sentence construction. Who are we providing for? We're providing for our whole ecosystem. We're providing for our circle of influence. We're providing for our stakeholders, employees, customers, investors, suppliers, the community, and the whole group around us. What are we? Well, let me step back and say, so when we think about providing, I love to use an example of one of the original SheEO ventures, LunaPads, because LunaPads throughout its history has been working as a feminist business to provide resources and to challenge systems of power all throughout its ecosystem. And I like to talk about LunaPads because I think they've been a really great example of being open about their learning and their challenges, and they've made it very easy for us to learn from them. So when I think about LunaPads, I think about how unlike a conventional business they are. A conventional business is going to go tell you that there's something wrong with you. They're going to prod your insecurity to make you go buy stuff, and then the stuff you buy is going to be crap. But not at LunaPads. Instead, they're offering what I call life-affirming products, products that are organic, sustainable, quite beautiful menstrual products. And they also, when you use them, make you feel good about your body. They make you feel good about your humanity. And they change your life just by changing the way that they think of you as a customer. Feminist businesses also give employees a different experience. They create a different relationship for employees. And they do that with things like democratic work processes. So if you go into LunaPads, you're not going to find their CEO or even their co-CEOs sitting at the top of the pyramid telling everybody else what to do. What you are going to find is that their gender nonconforming employee has led an initiative to create gender-inclusive product lines. You're going to find that one of their production coordinators has figured out how to lead the whole organization in reducing production waste to zero. Why? Because they run their organization in a way that challenges the conventions of power, the conventions of how a business should be run, and they do something different to build in democracy and agency. And that's how LunaPad rolls. They also have challenged the ways that they interact with stakeholders, like owners and investors. So Joy was talking before about what private equity firms and funds ask of businesses when they offer money. You know where LunaPads goes for money? To us. They get funding from SheEO. Yeah, they get funding from other places too, but they do it in a way that doesn't sell out their soul or their values. So yes, they might take on less money than they need at times, or they might take on a different kind of balance. But when they are looking for people to invest, they are looking for people who want to give them money for reasonable, sensible, sustainable growth, not crazy 10x returns where they go out of business in 2 years. That's not how they roll. So feminist businesses also do something kind of fun with their suppliers. We're very familiar when we think about supply chain management with this idea that we're going to hound our suppliers to get them to give us the lowest possible price, and often sometimes threatening their own financial sustainability. But feminist businesses like LunaPads, again, do it differently. What they do is they go out to their suppliers and say, hey, will you step up with us? Will you step up to a higher level of ethical expectations? Will you step up to a higher level of environmental standards? if you do that with us, we will stick with you in the long haul and make sure that we help support each other's businesses mutually. Feminist businesses also do something that's really crazy in our current environment, and that's that they hold themselves accountable to their communities. So often when things go wrong or there are questions, you'll find that conventional businesses will ignore, they'll lie, they'll placate, but they won't actually deal with the issue. A few months ago in the menstrual products industry, there was a real question, are these menstrual underwear made with toxic materials? Oh my God. Well, a couple of companies sort of kind of responded. Lunipads didn't have to respond. You know why? For the last 20 years, they've had all of that information publicly available, easy to understand, right there on their website. It's like, yeah, just go to lunapads.com, it's all there. They were holding themselves accountable to the community before anything even went wrong. And that's why they have the loyal customers that they do. Feminist businesses also do something else that is really important for us to remember. They serve as possibility models for all the rest of us. They offer leadership to their community. There's no, it's not a surprise when you think about why there are so many menstrual products companies now that are promoting sustainable and non-toxic products, or that are having life-affirming messages and gender inclusivity. You know why? It's because Lunipads has been leading their industry for the last 20 years. They've been sharing their values about what the whole menstrual experience ought to be. They've been sharing their best practices about how to get things done. And they have coached and taught and encouraged a whole ecosystem of businesses in their own industry, as well as in the world of social entrepreneurship, and even here at SheEO. So they've been leaders in their entire ecosystem, offering all of these wonderful resources, all of these wonderful things that support our flourishing. So when we step back and look at Lunipads, we know that they're doing it not because they're a company founded by women or run by women or employing a lot of women. That's not insignificant, and it's really important, but it doesn't explain the difference that they make. What makes the difference here, what lets them create these resources like accountability and mutual support and right livelihoods, is it's because this business is led by feminists. And so we here at SheEO can step back and look at this feminist ecosystem, and we can learn from our own feminist ventures and also from other feminist businesses. And what are we learning? Well, I'll tell you, one of the things we really learned is that it's critical, it's important, it's undeniably significant that we have women taking the lead in these organizations, that we have women founding these organizations, that we have women funding these organizations, and that we have women learning from these organizations. We cannot let go of that important step. And what we've also learned is that it's time to take on the next level of challenge. It's time to ask us and our businesses to create feminist businesses so we can get on with providing for everybody. So as a business person myself and among a group of business people, we can use the tools at hand and we can address that question of what systems should we be working on? The ones right here that we work in now to create feminist businesses, loop those into feminist ecosystems, and create a feminist economy. That's the work we get to do because that's kind of the stuff we're in, the fun stuff we're in. But always at SheEO, we can talk about the big ideas, but we have to come back to the critical one, which is what can you do? What can you and I do to take on this next level of challenge? So this is my ask, right? My SheEO ask. I'm going to ask you to start to really invest in practicing feminist entrepreneurship. And by that I mean, I want you to treat your business activity as political activity, as activity that challenges and changes oppressive systems of power and creates something better. I want you to think about demonstrating feminist values and feminist practices in your everyday work, and I want you to look at your own circle of influence and ask, where can I start changing systems with the very work that I do? So that is my ask. Of course, I've got a give for you. Here's a give. We've got some resources that we've put together to help you think about how to do this. You can go to my website and download a reading list and some suggestions. But also, you can go to Feminists at Work, our website. You can go and sign up to be a reader and a subscriber at Lizbeth, because right here in Toronto, we have the world's hub of information about feminist entrepreneurship. You can get Barb Orser's book on feminine capital, the one that started this conversation. You can get my book to kind of get knee deep in the muddy. I think it's kind of well written, but I don't know, about feminism. And you can start to follow all of these folks on Twitter that are part of our SheEO community. And I can give you some shout outs to the founders of Lunapads and the founders of Babo Mia and the founders of Feminists at Work, and even Power Bitches are here, but I couldn't get them on the slide. I was afraid they would, the bitch word. Anyway, so my give is resources for a feminist economy. But what I really want us to do in our SheEO community is remember that the best resource we have is each other. We have a depth of experience and a fierce commitment in this room that we can turn to anytime we're trying to figure out what's next. How do I do it? Where can I find the answer? Can you help me? The answer is always yes. Here in this community of feminist entrepreneurs, we can build feminist businesses, we can fund and found businesses led by women, and we can transform to a feminist economy where we all flourish together.
Thank you, CV. Questions from the audience, please. For CV, please stay. Yes. Who's got some questions? Yes, let's get a mic over there.
Hi, I'm Julie. I just want to thank you for the framing of a feminist economy. We see a lot of images around about the feminine economy, and I often find myself in conversations about how that's reinforcing the gender norms. So first of all, thank you for bringing this. Is new for me, maybe not for everybody else, but really appreciate it. My question is engaging with our male partners. So I work in a company that's founded by 3 men who I now realize have been trying to create a feminist business without a language. And I just wonder how many conversations you're having with men about shaping feminist businesses as well.
Well, we know that there are a lot of feminists of all genders, not just men and women, but all genders, that are committed to feminist practices and a feminist economy, even if they don't understand it that way. It's important, though, I think, for people to start to talk about what it actually means to be a feminist business person and to not feel like that term is either exclusive or derogatory or somehow misdirection. We're really just trying to use feminist legacies, feminist wisdom to work on something that will work for everybody. But I personally, and this is sort of maybe this is a bad thing, I don't talk to guys too much. I am just so really tired of the patriarchal, privileged, bullshit. I have a couple of readings that I send them to, go read the Gender Knot and then get back to me, right? But I am always happy to talk to anybody who, by inclination or by insight, kind of gets it, but just hasn't felt comfortable using the label or using the legacy. So I find those folks easy to work with. And I suspect that you can find ways to kind of wiggle that feminist word in there. So we have this feminist business model canvas that we use a lot with accelerators and startups. And it's called the Feminist Business Model Canvas, but we also have another version that's called the Values-Led Business Model Canvas. Why? Because, there's some entrepreneurs in other countries where feminism is a horrific word. We want to get the word out. We want to get the practices out. So we've got the tool that meets them where they are. And I think as long as you're not ashamed of the values that you're bringing and the legacy you're drawing on, that you can kind of massage the way you enter the conversation with folks and meet them where they are, because there are a lot of people who are ready to take that next step. A lot.
Got a question over here, please.
Hi, thank you. My name is Rachel. I'm a real estate investor, a social impact real estate investor. And I think you've kind of already answered my question. Everybody that I've talked to get funding for real estate has said make as much as you can and then donate a little bit and don't feel bad about it. Whereas I'm trying to spread the wealth. Excuse me. And not surprisingly, most of those were men. And if I came into that room full of men and said, let's create a feminist business, I don't know that they would take me seriously at that point. So other than not talking to men, which is actually why I'm in this room, what other terminology? Like, so you're saying value-led, is that?
Well, I don't want to necessarily suggest a lexicon that's kind of transitional from what we really want to talk about to what people are ready to hear. I don't know what your community would really feel good about, what would work with them. But often you can go out and you can ask questions that help people share their own language or their own folksonomy, their own terminology. And there's a beautiful exercise that you can do with men talking about masculinity. And it goes like this. First you ask men, what does it mean to be a real man? And they tell you all these things. And then you ask them, what does it mean to be a good man? And they tell you something else. And then you ask. And you can do something similar, like what does it mean to be a really successful real estate business? What does it mean to be one that makes a difference in the world? What's one you can be proud of? What's one where you can say, we have improved this community? And then listen to people and the words that they use there, and they might come up with some things. Like they might talk about community sustaining or other language that wouldn't fly in the menstrual products conversation, but might be just right for real estate.
One last quick question in the back.
Hi, TV. So, you know, the experience, I think, globally of women is the just like pervasive amount of emotional labor that we always have to do, essentially from the time of birth. Now, with this, we would require ourselves to continue to do that emotional labor with respect to educating folks, changing what things are called, and so on and so forth. What is one system approach, or your favorite, to protect us from burnout and not have us always feel like we're doing the emotional heavy lifting?
Well, I think I have one. It's like oh my God. I think you know because you already do it in your business, right? So I think one of the things that we do is we listen to the impact that we're having on our customers and our clients, and we listen to the impact that we're having on our larger community. And without embarrassment and without false humility, we write it down and we read it out to each other. Like we say things like, hey, we were just at that conference down in Tennessee, and you know what? People treated us like goddesses. And you know why? It's because we are changing the conversation around supporting birth workers. And you know that. And it's okay to save that information and repeat it to yourselves over and over. I was just talking to an entrepreneur yesterday who was saying, you know, my publication's really small. I only have like, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of subscribers. And I'm like, girl, you run the world's largest and most important information hub for feminist entrepreneurs, Lizbeth. And she's like, oh, right. Sometimes we just have to remind ourselves literally how great we are and how good the work is that we're doing. And I think that that helps, as well as all the other kinds of collective self-care that we know to work on together to like put some boundaries around things.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, CV,
Thank you.
very much for joining
Thank
us
you.
on the stage.